the food supply we have in this country is awful. It's very contaminated. It's very corporate. It's full of a bunch of unhealthy industrial seed oils, and it's all high sugar, high carb. The animals don't get fed well, and the product they produce is not high quality. There are ways to access that here, but it's not the most common way that people would try to get healthy food. They have to go and seek it out. I mean, they're a little ahead of us here. I'm not a huge think Europe has everything done right, but they do have food done better than we do here.
When I went to Europe a year and a half ago, I ate the same. My brain said I was eating the same way. Pastas and all these things, I felt different.
Yeah.
It's cleaner source food.
I felt different. And I didn't even have any thought that was going to happen. I was still more full. I ate these big dinners I shouldn't be eating, but it felt different.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. One of our daughters actually lives in Europe, and it's funny. She's visiting right now for a couple of weeks, but she'll feel the difference here, even though we eat clean, right? We try our best. We, whole foods, organic, non-GMO, all of those things. It's still not as good.
You could get it right 4 or 5 meals in a row, and as soon as you go out to eat, 99% of the time you're going to get a bunch of smoked up, oxidized seed oils in all your food. And
but I guess so that's
it's very like it would be very.
It sounds awful.
Yeah.
So let's give hope here.
But we do have to be intentional, though, right?
Like
you have to try really hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about.
So I
this.
mean, and that's it. You have to do the best you can. So really, if people just started to pull out some of the processed foods out of their diet, you've got that standard American diet.
So what's
right?
that mean? I actually believe 70% of the people in this country, you say processed food, they don't know what that means.
So
simple way would be just in the grocery store, you shop, on the perimeter where all the at least vegetables and the freshly processed things are. Some of those things are not still clean, but you're going to get more of them there than you will in the middle where you've got everything in a box and a bag and a can and
with a lot of preservatives.
With a lot of preservatives
in
it.
And,
when
you go down a bread aisle, and talk about a bread aisle in a grocery store.
Well, we're mostly paleo. I'm just going to tell you, so we don't eat a lot of that stuff anyway.
Okay.
So grains for a lot of people are inflammatory and the trigger that primary insult to the GI tract, which is the leaky gut or intestinal permeability that drives autoimmunity and inflammatory process in the body. So we don't spend a lot of time in the bread aisle. Now, I'm not going to say I never eat bread, but it's rare.
Well, we Paleo Mediterranean would say no gluten, no cow dairy, very little grain, good quality, less starchy vegetables, clean meats, so antibiotic, steroid, hormone-free, grass-fed, low glycemic index fruits, so lower sugar fruits like berries, lemons, limes. Green apples, as opposed to always, because a lot of times, and I do a lot of the nutrition classes, I do cooking classes at our center and so forth, and it's just starting to make some changes. Turn the ship. Don't think it's got to be perfect, because it's actually never going to be perfect, especially here in the U.S., unfortunately. So if you just can start to eat more around the perimeter of the grocery, so fresh fruits and vegetables. And this, you hear it all the time, but it really is so impactful. That is the story that I told you originally. I didn't think we ate bad back in 2008 when I had that watershed moment with Carl at the island, But, because I was cooking lots of things, but it was, I was using processed foods as the base. I was making a lot of pastas and breads, homemade breads, but still a lot of gluten. I was already a mess, and I was making it worse in my GI tract.
It seems like sugar is like the worst thing in our society when it comes to food. Is that it seems like it's the worst.
Well,
it's
been weaponized as the high fructose corn syrup, essentially. That's the fructose is the most common sugar in fruit as well. So but when you take it and you weaponize it in the form of the high fructose corn syrup, it kind of becomes addictive. It's added to lots of foods just as a calorie content, also to sort of create the craving and the addiction piece of it. So, there's a lot of work done in the food industry to make you want to go back and buy something.
Yeah. And then too, I think it's a dirty trick. All of these artificial sweeteners. So sucralose, aspartame, NutraSweet, which now they've renamed. And so all of those. Now stevia, pure stevia, that's a leaf. That's something different.
Okay.
Monk fruit is something different. Maple syrup.
But we won't talk about the brand, but this thing I put in my water today is not good. You're going
What-
to tell me it's just not.
I don't. I'd have to see
It does
the
have
label.
artificial sweeteners in it. Yeah, it does have artificial sweeteners in it. So, I mean, that's something you would want to be mindful of. And here's why. So, those artificial sweeteners, they still elicit that same insulin response from your pancreas, but you don't have any sugars. Plus, they're a neurotoxin, neurotoxin, and they're devastating to your GI tract microbiome. All the good guys that live in your gut that you want in there, it kind of kills them off.
You guys are making me travel a path here.
And you're just going to go eat something else, even though that had no calories in it.
Because
It'll make you
insulin
want to
makes
go
you
go
hungry
eat a bunch of other
and
stuff.
hold on to fat.
Yeah, I'm going to go eat something terrible for lunch. Like,
No,
I'm not even,
I mean, insulin does make
I
you
am.
hungry. It makes
It
you
does.
want to
Insulin's
digest.
a storage
yeah,
hormone. You
yeah.
store fat, protein, carbs with insulin. It makes you want to store things.
I'm going to go eat something terrible for lunch. I don't know what I'm going to have, but it's going to be something terrible. So Mark needs to be more healthy. I come to you guys. Where do you start? Because I really am. Like, I'm a guy, I don't take any medicine, right? I probably I get it. I don't. I'm like, there's something inside of me that's anti. It probably hurts me a time or two. I bet it probably does, but I'm just anti. Because I'll share some stuff off of here, some inflammation stuff and all that. But if I acted and ate right, my body, I'm just fortunate. It could be a strong body. It looks good. I could be that guy with the 6-packs and ripped and strong. I just don't, right? So where does a guy like me, 45 years old, probably 30 to 40 pounds overweight, really, and works 18-hour days. I've done it for 15 or 16 years. That's not healthy. You're like, you got to go to bed when I don't live a healthy life. Now, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't do all those things, but I actually know how to live my life. Probably is almost as bad in some ways. So what's a guy like me do? Where do I start? If I'm like, I want to feel better.
Our process at the office is you come in, we have a base set of labs we do on everybody, and then based on what your story is, there may be some selective things we add into that really sort of database collection. That takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get all of that back in. Then you'll come back in and sit down with me, and we literally have not as big as I would like it, but I got a big television on the wall. I'm going to put a bigger one there. But we put everything up there and look at it together. So the patients need to see the data. Most people can process this and see good, bad, high, low. And there's nothing that we keep from them. We show it to them. Try to use the internet as a tool to show them pictures and visuals to really grasp some of these reasons why we're making changes or suggesting changes. And then we'll develop a plan for lifestyle modification, for dietary modification. I'm not opposed to traditional medicines if you've got to that point. Some people come in and they're in an absolute disaster situation. We've got to sort of stop the leaking before we try to fix the boat. So sometimes you have to use traditional medicines, but our goals are to get it to where maybe you don't need those things. But sometimes if you've done enough damage, you just got to do what you got to do.
And then we go into optimization. I mean, looking at, maybe just some genetic predispositions, or here's where, this isn't a foregone conclusion, but you do have this genetic makeup. So you might want to make these choices. You and I might, live in the same, I don't know. I always like to use
the one I'll use
house.
commonly is like if I get a full-on ginger, freckly, really light-skinned person, and they came to me and said, I've decided that I'm moving to Hawaii to be a lifeguard. And I would go, that's fine. You can do that, but you better buy some stock in the sunscreen company or something to wear some clothes to cover you up, because it's probably not going to be good for your genetic potential to be exposed to the sun continuously when you're really not physiologically designed for that.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, we read a book with a bunch of people in my company. It was a lady named Marie Forleo. Everything's figure outable.
I love that book.
Yeah, it's awesome,
I
right?
love
And
that
so
book.
I'm just sitting here. I could sit in front. You could pull all my tests. I could sit down in front of the screen, and like everything's probably figure outable. Like 90-something% of it's figure outable.
Yeah, it's all about the epigenetics. What do you have genetic potentials, but what do you do with your lifestyle and your nutrition to modify those in a positive way or in a negative way? So we try to help patients identify those choices that they may be making, but they're unaware of.
Yeah.
And then we pull in the fun stuff. I think the regenerative medicine side is we do a lot of peptides, small molecules, things like that.
Oh,
and
regulators.
those are really fun, because then those, kind of prompt your body, remind it what it can do, maybe what it forgot to do, what it's a little sluggish on. And it's just, it's that amplitude.
It's the
that
story that you went through.
optimization.
It's the
Yeah.
story of you, right?
It is, and then but too, just in terms of optimally aging too, which I'm working on that.
I'm pretty sure that your wife is optimally aging. We sat down and I went, "What are you doing different?" And this guy's got some wrinkles and stuff over here.
Well, he's wonderful. He's a lot of it. Yeah, he's right. I mean, Filipino and Italian, there is a different skin quality.
More olive skin.
But I will
things.
just tell you that, I mean, from his standpoint, what his genetics say should have happened to his health and so forth. Amazing what we've been able to head off at the pass.
Yeah.
Real blessing.
So these long hours that you worked, you said you worked hundreds of, I mean, what people don't know is you can actually work 100 to 120 hour week. I'm not saying, but you're sitting here, you went through it to build this entrepreneurial life. You did. And then now, can you reverse that? Like, do you think what you're going through now, you're fixing the damage that you did?
I'm fixing a lot of damage I did, whether it was not sleeping or not eating right.
That's what I need to hear.
Yeah.
I need to hear, because this thing I'm going through, whether people know, it's necessary if you want to build something significant.
Yeah.
You can't do it 8 hours a day. I've never seen how to do it. You've
No.
got to have hard work, commitment, dedication. And there's a period of your life, a season of your life, you have to do that.
But it does have consequences, whether it's on your physical health, on your family. If you're not there, there's going to be, if you're not there, there's garbage that comes along with that. So, but can you fix it all later on after the fact is probably not ideal. But I do think if you're going to commit those hours, you want to do it when you're younger, because your recuperative capacity or your ability to regenerate is much higher in your teens, 20s, and 30s than it's going to be 50s and on out. But that's the neat thing with some of the regenerative things in the peptide space we have. They can help you get back some of that regenerative capacity that you might have had in your 20s and 30s, and it's been quite good for me. I'll take it. I'm going to keep taking it. Yeah.
I mean, we have pictures. Like, I just sent him a picture yesterday of him 10 years ago, and he looks older 10 years ago than he does today.
Yeah, we need to do the same thing for me.
Yeah,
So
I feel better than I did a decade ago. I easily feel better.
But it's lifestyle modification, and it's the
Eating
other
right
regenerative, the different things that we, the tools that we have. So.